Hi, we're Mike and Sandy Kadera, your missionaries in Guatemala with Verbo Christian Ministries. We were sent out in December of 1978 by Wilshire Avenue, and it was called First Baptist Church at that time, pastored by Emery Campbell and his wife Louita. And we spent our first year studying Spanish and learning the culture, and then we went to Guatemala. And we've been there serving now for almost 40 years.
And of course, in those 40 years, a lot has happened. God has given us 4 beautiful children and 9 grandchildren, and even one more on the way. He's going to be our little COVID grandson. And so our children, they studied in our church school because we wanted them to love Guatemala and love the Guatemalans. And sure enough, Lauda now, our youngest girl, she has come back and is a missionary here in Guatemala with us. And so we're very proud of her and her heart for Guatemala. Well, every family has a start. And Mike and I met at University of Southern California, and we were both at a campus crusade for Christ meetings. We became members together, and we were trained in evangelism by their team. Incredible, and God has used that training over the years so much. So we are grateful for Campus Crusade. And so Mike graduated as a dentist, and he began practicing in La Mirada. And I studied medical technology, and I finished that, and I worked at West Anaheim Community Hospital right near Knott's Berry Farm.
And we both sensed a call to serve full-time in another culture because of short-term mission experiences that we'd had. And that led us to prepare formally at Talbot Theological Seminary, which is part of Biola University. During that time, there was a powerful move of God in the Central American country of Guatemala due to a devastating earthquake that killed over 40,000 people. And we accepted the invitation to go and work with the churches in evangelism and discipleship. And over the years, we have been involved in church planning, social projects, praise and worship, discipleship.
Children's ministry.
Sure, you name it. We've been involved in it.
And Wilshire has too.
Right, and we've always felt the support of Wilshire Avenue, not just financially and not just with your prayers, but by the many teams that you have sent down to serve with us in areas of Vacation Bible School.
Look at Elroy.
Yeah.
He was there on that team.
Construction projects, serving in the community that we worked in for 14 years in Villalobos. And also, of course, the La Noruega project in Zacapa, Guatemala. So we see that our ministry has been an extension of your ministry, Wilshire Avenue, to the world.
Yes, and God, He has been guiding us all along the way. And at the beginning of our time here in Guatemala, we were in the middle of a civil war, and it was really difficult living under that pressure. And in our team, our husbands going out into the rural areas and really having to pray to get peace because we were back there with our children. And the first 4 years, I was sick many times with various illnesses, and ended up even with another pregnancy, which was a blessing, but it was hard on me. And I just the enemy began to attack me and put doubts in my mind of where I should be, if we were in the right place. So after our first term, we went back to California, and Mike asked me to pray about my part in the ministry, if we should go back to Guatemala. And God was so good. His still voice just told me, go and follow your husband, and I will bless you. And it reminds me of, so when I went back to Guatemala, I was never sick again. And God confirmed that still voice was his, because I was studying in a precepts Bible study on 1 Peter, and there it was. There is what God spoke to me in his still voice. And he said, for in this manner in former times the holy women who trusted in God also adorned themselves, being submissive to their own husbands. So that's what God wanted me to do, to be submissive as Sarah was to Abraham. And so the call was confirmed for me, and we went back to Guatemala.
And so we've been here very fulfilled in our ministry because God has been so faithful to confirm, like he did with Sandy, our call. And it's a call that has been very clear as far as taking the gospel to the poor and build God's kingdom in an integral way like Jesus did. Now, before COVID-19, our ministry was, fairly normal without any major crises or changes, working in evangelism, discipleship, church planning, social projects related to health, working with dental teams that would come down from the U.S. every year from universities, Rotary Club. But now with COVID-19, things have totally and completely changed, and we realize that we shouldn't expect things to return to normal, which is really good in many ways. We don't want things to go back to normal, but that's, when you think about that, that's also pretty scary. We've been in quarantine for almost 3 months now.
76 days.
Yeah, wow, and counting. Everything we do now is over the internet. We preach and teach using platforms like Zoom, YouTube. We meet with our small groups, like your life groups, over the internet, digitally, and pray and minister by way of WhatsApp, and a myriad of technological devices and platforms and programs that we have been forced to learn.
And it's been a blessing because we've been able to connect with our children and have family Zoom times.
Right. So all things work together for good. And what about the future? So that's where we're at right now. We're wondering, how is God going to help us adapt? How are we going to be able to adapt?
And we have been given the verse in Luke 4:18 that the Spirit of God is upon us to preach the good news to the poor. And our burden is for the poor right now during this COVID time. They are being hit by the virus very strongly, and it has made them lose their jobs, and to have to be praying and asking God to bring in the finances and food, and we've been able to be part of helping people. And so pray with us as we see how we can continue to help the poor and the needy during this time. And we will be praying for your needs because of the COVID virus also up there in the United States.
And one of my big responsibilities will continue to be with the administration of Verbal Christian Ministries. Last year I was elected as the new president of the board. So I have a lot of responsibilities in the area of administration, fundraising, but the important emphasis is missions. Of course, we have to maintain that focus on how we help our churches, and especially our young people, in developing a passion for reaching out to a lost world. And there are two important strategies that we feel that God has given us. Number one, young people. They're the key to the future. We have to develop programs and models that will involve our young people and involve them passionately. In Zone 9, the Variable Church that we attend personally, there is a group of young people, mainly that have come out of the Destino discipleship program, and on their own, pretty much, they have developed projects in missions. They went to Nicaragua just before the COVID crisis hit, and they were planning another outreach to Mexico this September. But of course, COVID has changed all of that drastically. And so now we're working with this group of young people, and we're believing that this is going to become a model for our other Variable churches as far as how to motivate and train young people in the area of missions. In addition, God, through the ministry actually of Kirk Mackey and Noble Ministries, we have become aware and I'm becoming trained in what's called missional pathway. I received the first phase of that training in January, and I was scheduled to take the second phase in this month. But all of that is on standby right now. But what we're believing is that God has given us this resource and the opportunity to work with Kirk, whom, of course, we have a lot of experience working with because he was pastor at Wilshire Avenue, and he brought teams down here, he and Robin, teams to work in Guatemala. And so we're anticipating that God is going to use this resource in a powerful way to help all of our churches to focus in on missions and to allow us to reach out like we've never reached out before.
Yes, and as we mentioned about the importance of young people and motivating them, we will continue, we really believe, continue with the Destino discipleship program. It's been really hit hard through this year because it's a hands-on kind of ministry. It's relational, and you can't do that when you're doing social distancing, very little. And so just pray for, there's 9 kids that had to stay back and were not able to go to their home countries, and they are living with Guatemalan families, and they really long to be home, but they know the importance of the program they're going through. So please pray for them and pray for us and how to continue to implement evangelism in this new era we're living in.
Right. It is a challenge. Just as you, Wilshire Avenue, are challenged now to think about what is ministry going to be like after we come out of quarantine. And we've been really encouraged because God has given us a president. He's a Catholic, and he's outspoken about his faith. And he's a physician. He was just inaugurated as new president in Guatemala this past January. But he has shown that he is able to handle this crisis. And we're believing that because of the support he has of the people and because of the respect that they are showing him, and other nations too, other leaders are complimenting him. International leaders, presidents of other countries are looking at Guatemala and they're asking him, what are you doing? What have you done to handle the COVID-19 crisis so well? Because our hospital system is still intact. It hasn't collapsed like it has in other countries. And we're believing that when we move out of COVID-19, that there's going to be a great awakening. There's going to be a hunger for spiritual things. People are going to be open to hearing about the gospel, and that we're going to see Guatemala continue to be an example for other countries, not just in the social area, but also spiritually. We're going to see our churches coming together, united, not just our variable churches, but all of the evangelical Protestant churches. And we can expect great and marvelous and powerful and miraculous things from God as we move out of COVID and into ministry once again. So please join with us in praying for Guatemala and the ministry here and throughout Latin America that our Variable Christian Ministry has, as we are praying for you in the United States, as you also are faced with the same challenges that we are. So thank you so much for letting us share with you. God bless you. We love you. And we look forward to being back on furlough and sharing personally with you in the future.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.